seat, so just you should feel special about it, you know.
Is that chair better now that you're not in the Shaw broken chair?
Yeah, we have to now adjust our chairs because Brian Shaw busted the podcast chairs. Shout out to Brian Shaw.
We're recording.
Okay. All right, so welcome to the show, Brandon Fokken. We were just talking about what your introduction would be, I guess. Fitness model, gym owner, entrepreneur, partner, Jay's Pet Butter. What else do we call you?
Father, proud father.
Yeah, father.
Fiance. Got my girl in the house here.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's recent.
Texan.
Previous South Dakota.
Yeah, South Dakota.
Yeah.
No tax in South Dakota either.
Nope.
All right. Well, welcome to Vegas. I know you. We've been kind of planning this a little bit, and it's good to have you here. I know you're here for a little mini getaway.
Yeah, real quick. Vegas is always a good time, though.
We appreciate you coming on.
Why aren't you staying longer?
Just got to get back.
Business, man.
Get back. Yeah, got stuff to do. Got a busy week ahead, and trying to keep up with Jay over here, man. The guy never stops working. So.
He's got he's crazy gym. He's being modest about the gym culture in Lubbock. Tell us a little bit about that experience now.
Yeah, we just hit 1 year at gym culture in Lubbock, Texas, and it's gone phenomenal. Try to create an amazing experience for our guests, and everything's going well, and super proud of it. Looking to have a second location hopefully this year, and continue to grow from there.
How has the gym business been? I mean, it's something that we see popping up quite a bit now. I mean, there's a huge influx of gyms coming to Vegas, but you mentioned South Dakota, and you chose Lubbock to open up. Is this your first facility, or?
I've worked on other gyms in the past. I did a lot of corporate wellness and built gyms for various corporations over the years. And so this is the first big box that I've ever built. And, Lubbock, in my opinion, needed something like that. It's a higher end facility. There's a lot of successful people in Lubbock, and a lot of the gyms were the big box, the crunches and stuff like that. And the experience is just completely different. We're big on amenities. We're really big on service, and really big on our relationships and getting to know our members.
So what's your message there then to the community?
Well, our saying is community inspired, people driven, and we're inspired by the community. The community inspires us. We love the people, and we want them to grow with us, and we want to grow with them.
And Texas Tech is your neighbor, which is pretty cool there.
Yeah, and for those that don't, Texas Tech is the home of Patrick Mahomes, and if you don't know where Lubbock is, you pretty much know who he is.
So you were rooting for the Chiefs then for the Super Bowl then, huh?
I was rooting for Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people are now. They don't care about the team. They care about you're a fan of certain players.
I guess if you're, in the community, yeah. I'm sure he is significant.
So if Patrick went to a different team, you're a fan of him.
Yeah, it's kind of like, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
When Michael Jordan left the Bulls, was everybody still a Bulls fan? Not always.
But they watched the Wizards when he played.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, because I know, I know you very well, but you also personal trained. You have in the past. I know you still have some partake in that, but I mean, the management of the gym is the big thing now.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Jay's Pet Butter, because you are the reason that we are in this Jay's Pet Butter collaboration together. So let's get a little bit of background on upbringing, fitness, because I know you've graced a million covers, really, worked with a ton of brands. Like interest, what drew you to being, who you are and establishing, your reputation in the industry?
Well, my background started different than a lot of people would probably think. Mine more so started off with hardship, and by that meaning, I grew up in a pretty turbulent circumstances, and I was attracted to people like Superman and Hulk Hogan and people like that, like people that were strong and had muscle, and I wanted to be like that. And athletics were one way that I made friends. I moved around a lot, went to a lot of different schools when I was very young, and I was mesmerized by bodybuilding and by strong people, and I knew I wanted to be like that. And unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with amazing genetics up front. And when I got to high school, I couldn't bench press 100 pounds when I was a freshman in high school. And the hierarchy of who's cool is, kind of what you bench in high school. That's the lift.
It's still kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And that's where I got started. A freshman in high school, 14 years old. And this is before, internet and, Instagram and Facebook and a million articles and videos and YouTube and all that. So we had magazines. And one of the first people I ever saw in a magazine that I looked up to was Jay. And, whether or not it was his article, meaning,
legendary.
I almost want to say, if you almost knew how crazy you were.
We laugh because we've had a lot of people on the podcast, and it always falls in this. And I swear to God, we don't line up these guests that have looked at me first in a book. But
Yeah.
do you remember when this was? Or
It would have been like 95, 96.
yeah, it's when I first came on the scene. Actually.
Yeah. It was the hair is what it was. It was
So that was the attraction.
Yeah, I was like,
Laugh,
man.
dude. Don't be jealous. Don't be a hater,
Well,
dude.
dude, my hair fell out many years ago.
So yeah, and that's where you got your information about working out, diet, all that stuff. And so through high school, I really lifted hard and, did the best that I could and, built the foundation, so to speak, to where I was going to go. And, through my 20s, I just stayed consistent. I kept lifting and lifting and lifting and did it as a passion. I did it because I loved it. I didn't have aspirations to go off to California or Vegas or anything like that because I didn't have the genetics to be a big bodybuilder. I didn't. I'm 6'1". I'm longer. I'm lengthier. And the opportunities for somebody like me didn't really exist. And I didn't compete until I was 30 years old. And when I did that, I started in bodybuilding, and then the physique division came out. And somebody who loved bodybuilding, I looked at the physique division, and I'm like, if I do this, I'm going to get made fun of. I'm going to wear shorts up there. They're going to make fun of me. And you would hear these bodybuilders that you looked up to, up front, they were kind of...
They trashed them, huh?
Yeah, trash it.
Yeah.
They made fun of it a little bit.
I never did, but...
And, so I ended up starting, and I loved it. It's somewhere that I fit in aesthetically. It's something that I felt I could do. And right after I started competing in that, opportunities started to come my way. I won the Muscle and Fitness Online Male Model Contest, and I went to the Olympia that year to compete in that contest.
What year is this? 14?
No, that was 2011.
11? Okay. That's about when they started it.
Yeah, 2011. I was in the second year.
Okay.
And that's actually where I met Jay the first time. He was backstage, and he was really, really nice to everybody. He was present, which threw me off because I was from South Dakota. You had never, really had the opportunity. Actually, I take that back. I had met him one time before. I actually met you in South Dakota.
Yeah, you drove out there, yeah.
Yes, I met you a few years before that at a meet and greet. And actually what was thrown off was we didn't talk about bodybuilding or weight training or nutrition or anything. He asked us about South Dakota, what we did there. I think he talked about fishing, if I remember right, if we fished there. But he was interested in what we did there, and it was just a very brief encounter. But the next time I actually really got to talk to him was at the Olympia. And to have somebody like him take the time to talk to you was surreal. And while I was there, this is when bodybuilding.com was kind of the king of a lot of stuff. They were the leader, had 35 million views a month. I mean, it was a big deal at the time. And I sat in their line and I went through, and Jamie Eason was, kind of the headliner. And when I met her, we just started talking, and she told me, she's like, I really think you could do something in fitness. And I was like, Jay didn't tell me that. So she told me to sign up for the bodybuilding.com spokesmodel contest, and I did. And I ended up being a spokesmodel finalist and went to LA and competed there, and bodybuilding.com signed me. And from there, it was just like one thing after another, just kept happening for me. I became kind of the head athlete at Beast Sports Nutrition. I transitioned from there, and I went to Dymatize, became their head athlete, stayed with bodybuilding.com, worked with a ton of other companies. But all the way through that, and for probably 10 straight years, every Arnold, every Olympia, you would see Jay having breakfast, or you'd see him in the hall or whatnot, and he was always kind, courteous. He connected with you, and that's something for somebody like me who, in comparison, I'm a nobody compared to Jay, meant the world to me. That somebody like him would recognize you or remember you or take the time to talk to you, and that continued to build over years. And eventually, I would say we became friends.
Yeah. So you're from South Dakota. Like, what the town you grew up in? How many people?
It's about 130,000 when I was a kid. There's about 200,000 now.
What city?
Sioux Falls.
So, did you have some sort of resistance to stepping out of South Dakota? Or was that maybe a dream to get out there to actually participate in these kind of things? Because I'm sure there's not a lot of people that go from South Dakota and they travel around and get involved in such a big community, the fitness space.
You know, I never thought I could do any of those things. That's the thing.
Why, though?
Because it was never a goal. You don't grow up in South Dakota thinking, I'm going to go off and do this, that, or whatever. Like I said, especially in the bodybuilding area, knowing I was never going to be good enough for that. The space opened up for me as things changed, as physique and other divisions grew, and you were able to get in magazines, which at one point were a big deal, and were able to sign sponsorship contracts and stuff. So that as the industry changed, opportunities arose. Before that, it would have never been a dream of mine. I wanted to be big and strong, but to look at you or anybody like that, I have a reverence for that and a respect for that. Mm-hmm. I knew I couldn't be that. I know,
but you see, like 20, I think, like Mark Anthony won the first men's physique Olympia 2013, right? Yeah. So I think they started the division right around like 12 or something like that. When was your first competition? Do you remember what year it was?
That would have been the same year, 2012.
Okay, so now you have an opportunity to stand on stage, right? Do you look at some of those guys that were relevant more as kind of role models, where you might have looked at like the bodybuilding side and you mentioned, seeing like superheroes or Hulk Hogan, all these people, the shift in your mind changes and saying, okay, I have limitations. This is a platform for me, but who inspires you? Or was that the early stage of social media, right? Because I know like Dana and Rob started to come on about that time, right? And
yeah,
I mean, we had people doing YouTube and that kind of stuff. So like who was the early, would you say, the version of like more men's physique that you looked at?
So when I first got on Instagram and all that, I would say I hate to say the word pioneer, but I did like the very first Minnesota physique show, like for South Dakota, like all that. The first two people I looked at, number one was Steve Cook, by far.
He was big then. Because he's bodybuilding.com, right? Then
yes.
Too.
He was the optimum athlete, bodybuilding.com. In my eyes, there was nobody bigger in the space of something I could be. And it's funny because when I signed with bodybuilding.com, he's who they were comparing me to. We had a similar build, similar look. But he was the first one. Alex Carnero was another one. Him and Steve Cook were both Optimum guys, and both, in the forefront of when all of this first started. And looking at those guys, that was attainable
for you. Yeah.
That was something I thought I could do, and that's why I pushed so hard to do it. And why I did compete is I found MySpace, and not MySpace the app, but MySpace in general. Like I knew I could do that. I knew with the right training and time and effort that I could do a lot more in the industry.
Yeah. Did you see Greg Plitt at that time too?
So actually, when I met Jamie, when she told me to sign up for the spokesmodel contest, I met Greg the same day, and he was crazy welcoming. He filmed with me and him for one of his YouTube videos. So the very first time I met him, I was in one of his videos. And again, standing side by side with him, I was like, okay, like I was motivated. I was like, I could do this. So for sure.
Yeah. He was very relevant in that space. And, unfortunately, like he passed away early on. And I think he inspired a lot of these early people when it came to, putting content out and everything else. But I always wondered if someone like yourself was looking at it as like, hey, I have a physique, but, to build the personality, try to be on camera. Was that ever something that you looked to do?
I think he was ahead of a lot of people. He had a subscription model and all that before, a lot of people did. And he had his own type of content, how he did things. I didn't see myself like him. I mean, he was, a thrill seeker, did a lot of crazy stuff, but physique-wise, his energy. And then with bodybuilding.com, that's where I found my voice, because they gave me the opportunity to film videos and create my own content and stuff like that. So it really, that's where I kind of found my voice on what my brand was. And I went from there.
During all this time, were you still living in South Dakota?
Yes.
When all this was happening? At what point did you say, I need to relocate?
You know, there wasn't any time. I had a phenomenal corporate job, and everything.
Corporate meaning what? Like
So I was the wellness director for a company called Poet. They are the world's largest ethanol producer. We built that program from the ground up. I did that for 9 years. And so for me, the fitness industry was safe. I didn't have to stand outside of my morals or do anything crazy to try to make it. I did it on my own time with the effort that I had, and was able to succeed on both fronts. I had a corporation that stood behind me in doing these things, and I was able to travel out. I mean, I remember one year I traveled like 36 weekends, and you know, they supported that. So it didn't make sense to me to leave, because you know, all my family, my friends, everybody was in South Dakota. I had a great job. Everything I did on the fitness side was a bonus, and so there wasn't a reason to move at that time.
Yes. So you became more the business side, though.
Yes.
Is that because you reached a limit on your fitness, or was it where it just happened to transition? Because you said you developed all these relationships with these brands, right?
Yeah.
And you're endorsing and whatever else. I mean, when does it click in your mind, like, I need to kind of build my own thing?
Yeah, you start to look at those things, and you look at the longevity of an athlete. You look at pro athletes, you know, how long do those contracts last? And as I move forward, I was previously married, and she developed a supplement company. I developed a peanut butter company, and we started to market and create other brands that would have more of a lasting effect and more income coming in for the long term, as opposed to a year or a 2-year contract, which again, at the end of your career, those tend to go away, unless you look at today's model, where if you have a massive following, you're still able to monetize things and make money. But I would say about halfway through my run, so to speak, in fitness, because again, like I said, it was about 10 straight years of stuff. That's when you start to look at doing your own thing and trying to create more. I left that company, Poet, and I became the wellness director at another company, which is Creston, and they own Victra, which is the U.S.'s largest Verizon retailer. They have like almost 3,000 stores. And working with one of my close friends there, we worked for about 3 straight years on different possibilities on businesses that we could coexist in. And with him, it's volume. He takes everything to volume, whether it's gyms, whether it's, phone stores or whatnot. And unfortunately, in those 3 years, we just didn't find the right model to grow with. And that's what led me to Lubbock. So.
And was your first venture the nuts?
Yeah. So Fokken Nuts, I did that for just about 5 years. Sold that last year to a private equity company.
So take a step back. What gave you the confidence to do that?
Because you used to eat a jar of peanut butter a night.
Yeah,
I mean,
basically.
Is that what it was? Like, what made you go? What made you go?
I'm not joking.
I know. Yeah. I'm just saying, instead of going for a supplement or a clothing line, you're like, I'm going after Jiffy.
I was kind of known as a peanut butter guy. So one of my very first sponsors was Nuts and More. They were great to me. I loved the product. Great company. Loved peanut butter. And I moved forward after that relationship. And all these companies would send me peanut butter. If you looked at my cabinet, I mean, probably not unlike Jay's. Everybody. Well,
that's
because you
eat them all.
Yeah. So, but I would have 80 jars of peanut butter from every company you could think of. And I just kept saying, I'm like, I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. And the year that I started, I had no idea how to do it, other than I had worked with other brands and other concepts and stuff. I didn't know how to make the product. I didn't own a factory. I just knew that I had a name, and I knew that I loved peanut butter, and it was my New Year's resolution.
Passion. We always talk about passion, right?
Yeah, so I got started, and it took me about 4 months. I found the right company to make it, was able to knock down the recipes that I wanted. I started with 5 flavors, three flavored and 2 that were just smooth and crunchy. and launched it. And the first month, it took off pretty fast. It was surprising. I didn't see it going where it went. The first month I did like $30,000 in sales.
Like how though? Social media,
Just
like
social
Instagram.
media. I was
or-
just posting.
or friends, like in the industry.
Just posting, and that was the first month. And then after that, what I started doing is I was sending the product to friends in the industry. And the one thing I never did, in knowing it myself, I've got a smaller but decent following, and knowing people like Jay that have a big following, I just sent product out to people. I never asked them to post it. I never asked them to share it. I just figured if they liked it, they would post it. And I had sent some to one influencer, and she posted it randomly. Never even expected. I even forgot I sent it to her. And our sales like spiked through the roof. Like my website crashed like 3 times from this person. It was crazy. And to see the power of what a person was capable of just by posting your product really resonated with me right there. And so over the course of years, that's what I did. I would just send product out to people. And it was fun because those products were almost like a calling card to meet somebody. You know, most people love peanut butter, right? And we had upwards of 40 flavors. And so it was a way for me to network, get to know people, be credible with people, and then send them something without asking for something in return. So almost creating value in other people's lives, you know, regardless of how big their name was or how famous they were or whatnot. And as it was my brand, I could do what I wanted with it and have fun with it. And that's what I did, and met a lot of amazing people with it and created a lot of great relationships. And one of those that spurned out of that was, you know, working with Jay.
Did you primarily, before you sold it, was it mostly online, or did you start going after major retailers as well?
So we were in stores, various grocery and stores like that. We were poised to make a run at it, so to speak. And I invested money into a big broker that had all these connections. By all accounts, you know, we were supposed to be in 3,000 stores, you know, that year. And it was right after COVID. So I would say we're a product of COVID. The big retailers like, you know, let's say everybody from Whole Foods to Sam's Club to Costco to anybody, the majority of them weren't picking up a lot of new products. They weren't picking up jams and jellies in that category, Albertsons, Safeway, any of them. And so I've got this guy basically on retainer, which was my first flaw, and paid him a lot of money. And we didn't get into one single grocery working together that entire year. And the thing about that is they never told me that none of these stores were picking up those products.
So you just took your money.
Basically just took the money. They were referred by another person. They had a phenomenal track record, but the companies that they were pitching kept just putting them off. Repitch us, repitch us, repitch us. So it was never a no. We love your product. We love your product. And I saw the emails and messages and letters. I saw all of that. You know, we were being praised because they loved the product. They loved the whole quirkiness of the name and everything. But none of them were picking up those products. And so I spent a year on that. And then after that, the energy to get back into that and try to push it again, it just wasn't the same anymore. Yeah. And so I had a few people offer to buy it that had approached me, and I kind of kept putting it off because, again, I had so much fun with it. And I love the creation part of it, you know, coming up with crazy flavors and all that stuff. But beyond that...
How do you do that, though? How do you come up with these flavors like that? You just think of what you like, or is it like opinions of people, or... It
just pops into your head. You know, you see trends, you know, like Monster Cookie was our #1 flavor by far. And we created that for an influencer, actually, because she said that was her favorite cookie in the whole world, was Monster Cookie. Other flavors, like we did like a movie night. And so I took all the candies you would have in a movie, and I put 3 or 4 candies together.
Pretty good, actually. I tried a lot of this stuff.
You know, and some of them are common, you know, cookies and cream and stuff like that, or trying different ingredients. Like, you know, we had a s'mores that I used like golden grams and then marshmallows and a chocolate flavor. Mm-hmm. So really it was just trial and error, and just really thinking about what you like to eat and the combinations that you like. And again, some of them would just pop into your head. Like, I think that would be good as a peanut butter. and realizing the resiliency of peanut butter, like what actually holds up in peanuts, it's pretty crazy. You know, you would think some things would just dissolve, but they don't. So they actually hold up very well to the consistency, and you can make a lot of really interesting stuff. So that's kind of how.
So you had, like, if you mentioned you had 40, was this a continuous 40, or would you like limit launches?
Yeah, so we would do drops. I always compared it to Nike. It was funny. I had gotten some I got some advice from Dan over at Ghost, and I knew him, you know, in his prior days. And he told me, he said, Brandon, he goes, whenever you're doing a drop, he goes, whether you're dropping 100 or 1,000, he goes, you don't need to tell anybody. He goes, as far as they know, it's limited, and drop it like you would a pair of Nikes, you know, because on the Nike drop they sell out in minutes, right? And so when I started doing drops, I started with a smaller amount just to see how it would take. And it would sell out immediately, so I would extend the drop, and I would do it longer. So after the first 2 or 3 different drops that I did, I realized, you know, what the market was going to pick up or not. And then seasonal flavors we did, you know, like different pumpkin flavors or apple pie flavor or, you know, stuff like that. And when we would drop those, you know, year to year, you kind of know what to expect when you would do those. So.
Yeah, that's something that's, I like, we talk about the limited releases and people jump on that.
Yeah. I mean,
And like you said, you don't know if there's 1 or a million.
Exactly. And so when I put it out there, it was limited. Well, it was limited, you know, but
Limited to 100,000.
exactly.
It could take 2 years to sell.
Yeah. So like I said, I would make smaller amounts just to see. And when I found where the market was going to take it, then we would prepare, you know, better, and we'd have a much
You know what I
bigger
just
number.
thought of when we had Urs on here, and he said, I did limited release, and he goes, they didn't know I only had whatever people bought. That was the limit because he had no money.
Yeah.
So this was obviously a passion project, very successful. You had some hurdles that you had to go through with distribution, and then you've had the offers. So you decide to, basically, have the company acquired.
Yeah, I was contacted by a company, more of a private equity type company, that wanted to use a similar name for a product. So I'm surprised. First, you said my last name right.
Yeah, no, so I would go on social media and I would talk about his butter before, and I would use a curse word instead of his name.
Yeah,
and it would actually draw
You're a bully.
attention. No, I did it on purpose.
I know,
you
yes.
know.
So
It's a marketing ploy.
they have a similar name that they wanted to use, and they wanted to get into the snack business, and they asked me if I would ever sell. And at that point, like I said, I was ready to do something different, and we went back and forth for the course of about 4 or 5 months, and we came to an agreement. And the brand is still technically running right now, but they're going to be spurning it into something new and different, which I'm excited to see. And there'll be a name change coming.
Are you involved at all anymore?
I helped through the process of learning the business because, again, I learned it from the ground up. And these guys have done a ton of different companies and a lot of different things. Even tech companies, like they do a lot of stuff. Real impressive group of guys. And I helped facilitate a lot of different relationships and how things worked, and did about as much as I could. And now they're ready to run on their own, and they're going to do a phenomenal job. They're going to do great.
So at what point did you guys talk at this point to potentially do something?
You know what? We talked about it for a while before all this because, he made me some peanut butter that actually had, I think one of the dogs or one dog on it or whatever, the big tub you made me.
Yes.
And he kind of he could come up with these labels. He actually made me one with a quad stomp, made my own jar. I wish I had it here, but I still actually have some in my cabinet. And, we talked about, expansion of butters, right? And he said, have you ever thought about doing, pet products or whatever else? And he knows my love for my dogs, right? So, and he knew that basically. And he said, why don't we, we looked at the market, I guess, and kind of explained how we kind of just spoke about it. And then I don't even know what triggered let's do it.
Well, I remember exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
he knows a better story than me,
I've
which is
got it.
surprising, right? Usually I know everything, right?
I know. Usually you do.
Yeah.
Are you okay? You
No,
need some
no,
of
I
this
just-
cognition or something to help your
Yeah.
memory?
I think every time I've talked to Jay, it goes right in my journal. May 8th.
Oh, you journaled like he used to.
2021. Jay called today.
That's why you're in Milos's seat. Yes. Journals, guys.
Yes. So for fun, he's right. I made him a peanut butter and I put the quad stomp picture on it. And I just sent him a bunch of them. And
it was a cookie one, by the way.
I remember seeing it. I remember it.
Yeah, it's in my cabinet. So yeah.
And he got a kick out of that. And from
He
there,
didn't send me one. He sent me, probably like 24 or something. Yeah, probably 2 cases, you know.
Yep. So sent a lot, and it was the one flavor he said he liked, so I made his own version of it. Cutler's cookie is what we called it. And then I was messing around with, the pet stuff, and I just put together a tub, and I put a picture of a dog on there, a Yorkie, and I just sent it to him.
It's still sitting on my top shelf, actually.
Yeah. So I didn't say anything about it. I just sent it out, and he got it. And, he questioned. He's like, "What's this?" And I just told him. I said it was just something we had been playing around with, and weren't putting it into production or anything, and left it at that. And we were talking another time, and I just said, have you ever thought about a pet product? And he said, yeah, loves his dogs, and everybody knows that. And he was looking at different treats and stuff like that. And that was all the conversation was. And then randomly, the next October, he messaged me and he just said, hey, that product, I think I've got time to finally come back to something like that. And that spurred the conversation. And we just started talking about it and what his ideas were and how I could help facilitate that. He knew what he wanted to do. He had the time to do it and was ready to move forward with something that he was passionate about. It wasn't, hey, I want to make $1 million to do this, or I want to do that, or whatever. It was like, I really love my dogs. I really want to share something with them. What do you think we can do? And I was like, wow, this is cool. And that's where it started.
At what point did you already know you have to come up with something a little different for humans and animals, or at this point did you start doing your research?
Started doing research for sure, talking to veterinarians, dog breeders, stuff like that, and asking them, have you worked with peanut products? Have you done this? What supplements do you give animals? Because there's different pet butters and stuff out there, not many, but none of them were using any supplements. And some of the biggest sailors on the number one is pet treats in general, the cookies and stuff like that. And that would have been an easy offshoot for him to go do. This one I think is just a tad bit harder, but it doesn't necessarily have a huge market because a lot of companies aren't doing it. Now, if you were to probably look at Jif or Skippy or any of those companies and how much dogs eat those, it's probably a huge
majority. Yeah.
It's a majority. It's a huge percentage. So being able to facilitate a brand that's specifically for them with health benefits, the vitamins, minerals, supplementation made more sense because, that's why they're either eating the cookie for the treat or they're eating it for the positive ingredients, right? Yeah. And so if you promote and put that in there, you're giving them, a pet safe and healthy treat that's good for them. And then from an owner standpoint, who doesn't love to give their dog peanut butter?
So if somebody sat down in front of you and they don't know what the difference is between if someone just had Skippy or Walmart peanut butter versus this, what is the difference between the two? Why should you give an animal this instead of something you get in the grocery store?
So, we're working with an organic peanut product. We aren't putting hydrogenated oils and preservatives and salts and sugar. We're not putting molasses and all the other additives that aren't necessarily good for our pets. Some products out there have xylitol, which is, harmful to animals too.
Yeah, kill them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you really care about your pet and you want to make sure that they're getting a healthy treat, you want to know what's in there, right? And of course, anything in moderation isn't always terrible. It's always in the dose, right? Whether it's vitamin C or aspirin or anything like that. So why not just negate that, take all that out of there, and have a product that if the dog got into it and ate the whole jar, they'd still be okay, And then looking at the positive things, we have a mix of products, meaning we don't just have a supplemental line. We have a non-supplemental line too. And the reason for that is dogs are picky, just like humans. And some people say they're not, but they are.
Of course they are.
And some dogs know when there's something in there that they're not used to or they don't like. And sometimes it takes them a little bit to come around. But once they've tried it, they're usually hooked on it, right? They're like, okay, this is pretty freaking good. So having a balance between the two also. And then from there, we're potentially going to launch into other things. So,
yeah, I mean, this when I pull the jar out at my house, the dogs go crazy. I think any dog probably would, but obviously this is the Capone and Daisy, so they're kind of like the stars of this whole thing. But we, our message, obviously, and we want to talk a little bit about where we just transitioned to, is a healthy alternative, okay? Because everyone that loves their pets, I mean, there's no limitations. Like he said, everything's in moderation. I mean, it's just like, I'm in the supplement game, so it's kind of like a pivot off that, still doing products with offering supplements and what else. And having a healthy aspect, because I'll be honest, I mean, a lot of times I go to the store to look at treats, and I'm very picky, honestly, about what treats I'll actually purchase for my dogs. And, you look online, go on, websites or Amazon, right? I mean, it's endless, right? How do you determine which one you want, and obviously with my name, social media exposure, everything else, we just had a crazy, unique opportunity because we were on national TV with tens of millions of people that actually I'm getting a lot of recognition for. I'm sure you're the same. But we got to show, the product, and it's really helped a lot with the company.
Explain how did that process come about?
That's on Brandan. He's going to have to explain that process.
I just called Shark Tank and I said, I know Jay Cutler. And that was
Darn, sold.
right on the dotted line. We had been looking at.
I remember the day he called me and said to me, do you remember?
Yes. Yeah.
I think I remember this too because you called me after.
Yeah. We had already been looking at a couple different options for the company. We were having a couple different shipping issues and stuff like that. And we were also looking at different products. We had been sampling treats also. We were looking at squeeze pouches, stuff like that, that were easily, able to be traveled with and all that stuff. And we were on a call, and I don't even know if he heard me when I said it because we were on a group call, and I just said, hey, I'm going to apply for Shark Tank. Is that cool? And I think he just said yes, but whether he completely
I was like, all right, dude, whatever,
Of course.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay. So I went through the whole application process and talked all about the brand and what we were doing and all that, and didn't think nothing of it. And about a month later, I got an email requesting a call. So called Jay up. Hey, so Shark Tank messaged. It's like, okay. I said, well, I have to talk to him on the phone. Okay, let me know how that goes.
That's typical.
Okay. So I got on a call, and we did this long interview. I mean, probably 45 minutes we talked. And I thought it went pretty well. So I was all excited and went back, and I think it went really good. Okay. Let me know how it goes. I said, okay. And again, when somebody's like, oh, we're going to go on national TV or have the potential to, you're like, there was nothing set in stone at that point. So you're just like, okay, just let me know. I'm like, okay. And then I got another call. And then they requested a video. So then I call them again. I'm like, hey, we have to film a video.
I remember that.
Yes. So I set it up with Jay and came out to Vegas, and I got to see you guys. And we made our first video pitch, which then we submitted, and then didn't hear anything back again right away for a little bit. And then we had to do, I think, 2 or 3
like
Zooms from there. And then the paperwork came. All the paperwork. And I mean, hundreds of pages of documents, everything about the company, yourself, background checks, everything. A lot of that. And then I think we had another Zoom. And then from there, they have 2 different times that they will film in the spring and in the fall. And they didn't say nothing is committal with it at all. I mean, literally, after you film, you're still not committed to airing. Like, they cover their butts as far as that goes. So every call, every message, every bit of paperwork, everything we signed, everything we sent them, nothing was ever committal. Because they would always say, well, basically tomorrow,
we'll let you know.
This won't exist anymore. It's like, okay, great. So you just keep doing it. That went on for about 5.5 months of weekly doing something. And we were given a team, 2 different people that we worked with. They were our coaches, so to speak. And the whole time, super, super positive people. They kept pitching us on the best ways to get on the show and what to do and what to say. And we just kept up with the process. And then eventually we thought we were going to be pushed off potentially to the fall. And out of the blue, they called like, what, 2 weeks beforehand?
Yeah,
2 weeks
can
beforehand.
you be here basically? And you know, I think a lot of it was because of my timetable. Like I travel so much, and you know, it's kind of like you know, we were obviously you're involved. The gym was kind of the takeoff point at that point, and you know, you were just exiting out of the other company, and I think it was just like that whole transitional process, and then you know, we were able to get the call to hey, can you make it for this? And you remember because I was
I remember because we had to fly to Europe the next day, and he drove there.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be at a certain time, and it kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And I was like, oh my God, he might miss his flight tomorrow. Like, I can't go to Europe without him. He's the reason we're going. Yep. And he drove through the night, got home for like an hour.
Well, the reason being it too is the dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So the dogs were part of the whole process.
Because at one point, we were going to switch your flight out of California and have Angie go with and drive the dogs back because you can't take the dogs. Yeah. And then I was going to come over. Like, we almost had to like switch all this around, but it worked out to where we ended up getting back in time. But I remember that. It was kind of a stressful thing, and I'm like, oh my God, if he doesn't get back, I can't.
It's a pretty big event we're heading to. So,
Well, it was very drawn out when we got there. So, you know, you expect to come in and come right back out. And they were as accommodating as they could be.
For sure.
First, they were going to have us go on late. And we had to push back and say, this doesn't work. So if he would have gone late, he would have for sure missed. Because
that was because he had a flight out.
Yeah. So he wasn't able to do that. So we had to just, you know, communicate that. And they did everything they could to make sure everything worked. The process still, even being in the first group, was very drawn out. You know, we got to LA, and you know, before we got to LA, we actually had to do 2 different pitches, one live, I think, in front of like producers and stuff before we got there. I mean, they really polish it to make sure like when you get up there, you're ready.
Yeah.
And we had that all the way up until we got there. So that last week was in the midst of him having to go all over the place. We had to get on. We had to listen to this multi-hour kind of, this is how it works. You can do this, you can't do that type of thing. Then we had to do the videos. Then we got there. And then we got up at
pretty early,
like 5 a.m. And we were at the studio by like 6 a.m. So we took pictures. We got there at 6 a.m. And you think you're going to go on right away. Like you're just waiting.
No, I remember you texting me. I'm still here. Here.
We went on around 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Our coaches were there. We ran through the pitch multiple times. They take you over to the studio, and you get a look at what the drop looks like all the pictures and, you know, your setup, and kind of run through it. And then, then when they're ready, they say, all right, let's go. They take you back. And
you know what's funny about this to me? I obviously travel all over the world with you, and I know how you are if we have to sit somewhere for 10 minutes or 15 or 20. That day, I was kind of silently laughing behind the scenes, like, he's been there for 5 hours, and I was waiting for him, like, I'm leaving. I'm not sitting here no more.
He did really good. He kept looking at me. He's like, you nervous? I was like, no, I'm not nervous at all.
Well, you know, so you had known some people that had participated before.
Yeah. He was cooler than a cucumber, man. He was chill. He was great. I'm over there in the back of my head, like, I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna say
because remember, he's pitching.
Yeah,
he's pitching very detailed ingredients because he is obviously kind of the guy that put up the formulas and everything else. Had the experience. I mean, I'm just here. Hey, you know, my pets are on here. It's my name, right? So it's a little easier pitch for me, where it's like, and also he was being modest about his background, and of course when they showed up images, you know, on the show, you know, and you guys had a party for all this, right? And it was pretty exciting for everything.
Yes.
Everyone in Texas.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't the only star of the pitch, right?
You know what I like about all this? The fact that this is like almost a year process.
Yeah.
And nobody leaked it out.
Nope.
You know how hard that is for anything to happen, for you guys to go there and film.
Do you know
it.
how
Only
many
a small people knew.
People were mad, dude, that I was on, and they're like, "You didn't tell me you were going to do
But
it."
just think about it. Like anytime something happens, you tell somebody. Not one person said a word. Even the week it was going up, I never heard one person ever message me about it.
Well, some of those big contracts that you sign have a lot of big numbers behind those. So it really makes you not want to. But, at the same time, Jay's a busy person. I'm a busy person. We're both working on different stuff. There's no reason to talk about it, and just wait for it to come out. They don't tell you until 3 weeks before you air. So you don't even know when
if it's going to even happen
or if it's going to happen. Yeah. You just wait, and then that 3 weeks is when you have to get ready for the influx of customers and attention that you're going to get, and which that part was awesome too. But the process is it was almost a year, and it was fully worth it. I mean, it was a lot of work, a lot of effort. It was cool because again, you get to see Jay's passion for the product and the project. They wanted to have Jay come out sleeveless and, have his arms out there. And Jay just politely told them, he's like, this isn't about me. This is about the dogs, and this is my passion project, and I'd like it to be about them. Even when you look at the label, this is Jay and Capone on here. Yeah. But it's a silhouette.
You can't tell.
No. Yeah. And he wanted it that way, and
there's an actual picture, we
feed him.
Yeah.
But
so what was it like the first time? Because obviously he's seen himself on TV like that. For you to turn on the TV and know that
have you
massive
been on
amount
TV
of people,
or not that many people, but
I was on
the show
Teen Mom, and then the Titan Games with The Rock. I got hurt on that and had to pull out of the show. So I had seen some stuff before. You don't know what the episode's going to look like because we were up there for an hour. And when you first walk out there, it's a huge room.
Yeah.
And when I went to talk, it echoed and I couldn't hear myself at first. So I almost panicked right away because I'm like, I can't hear what I'm saying. And so got through the pitch, and it's pretty chaotic. It's not,
it was pretty cool. There's a lot of behind the stuff that we don't need to get into, but it was like, there was a lot of, it just a lot of back and forth, and obviously it's edited for the show. And obviously we walked away with no deal. We didn't do a deal, but
why did you not do the deal?
It didn't work right. Why would you say? I mean, I kind of called it, but
yeah, when you look at, as he said, there's a lot that goes on. You talk and talk and talk. Both Mark and Damon, they're both like, you don't need a partner. No. And that's something I'll get to here in a little bit. But when it came to the offer, they tried to push for us to make suggestions and give them different ideas and stuff like that. But it definitely wasn't a deal for us. We wanted to work with somebody that was as passionate as we were about the product and the project, and really build a great relationship with one of the sharks. And each one that didn't work out for a reason, and it all made sense. And for us to walk away made sense too.
And now I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but one of the sharks is invested in a peanut butter company.
Yeah. And a pet company too. When you go down the line, Mark, is into a couple different companies. Damon doesn't know the space, just kept going on and on about, how much he'd love to work with Jay in some capacity. Mm-hmm. Kevin made an offer, and then they tried to, work through potentially a different offer. Again, they showed part of that on the show. Lori is highly allergic to peanuts, and so it's definitely not a product for her. She said she has to be able to participate in something that she wants to invest in. And the last shark, he owns Kind Bar, and Daniel, really nice guy. We actually got to meet him right before we went out there. His thought on it was, one, he didn't know the pet space, and two, Jay has so many things going on. He was worried that, Jay's being pulled in so many directions. Like, how much energy can you put into this?
Yeah. That's legit though.
We talk about that. And I mean, I think
all the time, yeah.
I think, and mention that, like we are very, we're very choosy about situational things for me. And I think it's your boat too. I mean, you mentioned being a dad. I mean, you have a child and, you know, you have time, like you're spending time at the gym. I mean, you still have some clients, right? I mean, you're still working. There's a lot of different hats that you wear.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know for me being my age and being where I'm at, being retired, I've been retired 10 years from competition. I find my schedule busier than ever. I mean, because what happens with me, crazy. Brandon, and you know this, is I travel, like, you know, I'm off this weekend, but next weekend I travel, and it's like you lose 3 days, and then it's like time change and everything else, and then all of a sudden it's like you got 3 days at home, and then you're back on the road again, and trying to manage all these different entities, it's really difficult to do if you don't have a lot of good hands in it, right?
Yeah. And
so I can understand they just looked at the, you know, it being an extension, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing is you have such a great team around you too, because you are so busy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's something that they really neglected to ask or talk about. So yeah, I mean, you're able to do a lot of things, but you also put excellence around you. So, but they all saw that for that. I mean, to be honest, the first half hour, because we were up there for about an hour or so, I started to kind of zone out because they were all giving accolades to Jay for the first half hour. And our whole pitch was I was supposed to pitch some stuff. And then I just kind of hung out and waited. And literally Damon goes, "Oh, we forgot to ask who you are." And I'm like, "Hi, thanks." Completely forgot everything I was supposed to say. And again, just the way it went, because there was so much back and forth, you just don't know what it's going to look like. And I think they did a phenomenal job editing it. I think it looked great. They got to bring Jay to a different, you know, demographic of people that don't necessarily know him because, you know, outside of the bodybuilding world. And it got to show a different personality of his too. You know, I mean, everybody knows he loves his dogs, but it got to show a different side of him, which I think resonates with a lot of people.
So I'm not super familiar with how the show runs, but I'm assuming the reason that you do all that paperwork is if they want to invest, they really have to know who they're getting in business with. They need to know your background. If you've had problems or if you're a criminal, or like, they probably have to know all this if they're putting their name and money behind you.
Yeah. So there's a vesting period after the show. So if you get a deal, there's a vesting period where they go back through everything. Deals can change. They can rescind offers. They can change, you know, format, all that stuff. So yeah. So up front, they have all these financial wizards, so to speak, go through all your stuff, really make sure that you're somebody that makes sense for the show. Yeah. And they protect their clients, so to speak, and really make sure that they're bringing the right people onto the show.
Of course. Could you imagine if you're on one of these shows and you're a billionaire or something and you get in business with somebody and you find out they have some shady stuff in the past that could affect your brand.
Exactly.
If you're, you know, tied in with them. So overall, you glad you guys did it?
Yeah, I think it was great. I mean, the experience was great. I mean, I think for Brandon, like, he was super excited about it because he knows a lot of brands that actually had the opportunity. I mean, you mentioned a handful of people that had the opportunity going. And listen, I know so many people that applied to be on the show, and they are just continuing, just applying, and it's just not happening, right? So we should be honored that we were able to be chosen. And, you know, as much as, you know, we would have loved to maybe get into business, we just, you know, we're heading in a great direction now. And, you know, we've had a lot of great, you know, feedback on the products and everything else. I mean, it's kind of just getting out there, really, the past. I mean, we've been in business now, I think, over a year now, but, you know, really starting to really make a push forward now, and you know, we're excited for all the new things that are happening.
So you got to talk about, like, the different flavors and just pitch it.
As he looks at me.
Yeah. Hey, you know more about it than him.
Yeah. So we have had 4 different jar flavors, and each of them has different ingredients. You know, this one's got peanuts, sweet potato, blueberry, and some other health additives. We've got another one, glucosamine, flaxseed. They're all for different purposes, you know, for digestive health, for joint health. And so we state all that on our website, what they're each good for. We've ran with the jars for the last year. We're going to be transitioning into packets next.
Pouches, pouches, resealable.
So you can just travel with it.
Yep. Cool. So those will be 4 and 8 serving, depending on the weight of the dog. But you can reseal them, travel with them easily dispensable. Put it in your backpack, take it on a plane, whatever you want to do with those. So that's kind of the next thing that we have going on. But yeah, they're, like I said, they're all beneficial for your pet. They're all phenomenal treats. They're all pet safe, all healthy for them. And, the future is going to be bright for us.
I forgot where I was traveling, and you had me bring a couple with, or you had me bring one with, and I put it in my carry-on, and they took it from me at TSA.
Oh, really?
And I started arguing and yelling at them because they took it. Because I forgot where I was going, but I was bringing it to give to somebody. You're like, yeah, give it to them. Yeah. And I remember arguing with them here at the TSA, and I'm like, but it's not food. They're like, it's over such amount. I'm like, it's peanut butter. It's for animals. And I started arguing.
Well,
with them.
and it's. I have this whole thing, this video. It's like and you'll probably see this on the podcast actually. Good enough for them. It's good enough for me, right? Because it's like I take a little, they take. And you saw me eat it on the show, So that was pretty cool. They were kind of surprised at that.
So if somebody wants to buy it now, is it just on the website, or can you get it?
It's currently on the website. We'll be working our way into retail here this year. We do have a big box, which we actually discussed on the show. I'm still not going to say their name, but they are still interested in us. They like the new stuff that we have going, and if we land that, that's a huge deal for us, and we're super excited about that.
Will you still be broke?
We're always broke, you know that.
What about, is it on Amazon?
No, it will be soon.
It'll be on Amazon soon. So right now we're making that big push. We've figured out all the stuff that we needed to, from shipping to manufacturing. And again, we got put in the spotlight because of the show, and we're going to carry it on now. We're going to create some phenomenal relationships with various influencers, utilize Jay's network and following, and we're going to grow the brand from there.
Is there a challenge with shipping stuff because it's a little heavier?
It isn't. No, I mean we're pretty much. It's just the efficiency right now, because of keeping up with the production, stocking more inventory. Once you have the sales, it's obviously and then he talked about the retail locations. I mean, that's when you get the machine rolling. And I did this all with supplements, and I mean he's done companies in the past, so you have to start from somewhere, and it's I still look at it as it's kind of like a mom and pop operation, early stages. And we just went back and forth. I mean, this week we just decided on initial flavors, launch out flavors, and what we're going to keep pouches versus, we talked about maybe just going straight to pouches and not having the jars, but I think the jars is a great option. We're going to actually keep the jars. We have other things like we talked about the treats, and I mean, the list goes on and on. We talked about many different things that we're going to work on once we have the legs, which I feel we do now.
And this is a random question. I have no idea. Because you owned a company, I'm assuming you couldn't just go back into selling it. Were you able to launch a company with animals because you sold yours?
That was part of the agreement.
Yeah.
I wanted to put more time into this because this was right at its infancy when that started. And like I said, that's a great group of guys. They completely understood the opportunity, what I was going to do. I'm not competing with them, and this was something completely different.
Because some things will have the non-disclosure or non-compete, but it's still, but not in this.
Nope.
I was wondering how that worked out.
Nope. We're completely good as far as that goes. So, one thing I do want to discuss is, for the general public, because obviously I saw the post, I did some Google searches, and I told you before this that I kept seeing the word shocking. It's shocking that Jay's on Shark Tank. I'm like, shocking? Why is it shocking? And I'd read the article and all that stuff, and everything was positive. I never saw any negative press or anything like that. But, I want people to know that we had an immense opportunity that very few people get. I think they told me that 80,000 people had applied last season. 80,000.
And how many people aired?
What is it? I think 60, something like that. I can't remember the exact number.
0.0001%.
But a ton of people apply. And when you're able to go on TV over a weekend and expose the nation, so to speak, to a brand, they average 7 to 8 million viewers, in their initial release. And then it's on reruns forever. And then to introduce Jay to a completely different demographic of people that may not know Jay. Jay's got, I'm not even going to say how many followers because he always corrects me because he has more than what I always say. But
say it. I want to Let's see what you say.
18 million.
I don't even know how many. Do you know how many? Or?
Well, you always correct him. You should know.
No, I
What
don't
does he
know.
normally
I don't
tell
know.
you?
I think we were at 15 before.
You're over 15.
Well, I was throwing like 12 out there.
Oh, yeah.
And he just looks at me and
More
goes, "That's wrong." So I don't even
That's
guess.
just
anymore.
Facebook and Instagram.
He used to keep track, actually.
I used to have just because this is my lane. I pay attention to athlete space, and I used to have the top 10 followed people in the industry, and I would update it and see how fast they were growing and who was growing at what. So at one point, I had all the people.
Yeah.
But that's just the lane that I'm in because I help brands, and you have to know who's growing at what level.
Yeah.
So
people. Again, I think they had some weird misconception. Like, why is Jay on here? It's a massive opportunity that
marketing
that we didn't have to pay for. And when it comes to the money per se, and I'm just going to say this, like, we didn't need the money. No. We wanted a partner. We wanted to work with somebody that was passionate about pets like us. And we asked, it was strategic. We asked for X amount of dollars for X percent of the company because you have to ask for something and they have to be able to at least meet that price. And you can go up in equity and stuff like that. And we talked about the max equity that we were
willing to give
comfortable
up,
with, before the show. And again, having a partner like a Mark Cuban or something,
of course,
makes sense.
Because they can turn a key and put it in a bunch of stores strategically.
Exactly. And so it wasn't the money. It wasn't, Jay's on his last dollar and he's struggling or anything like that. It was, hey, yes. We're going to get in front of millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
And we're going to expose our product. We're going to expose Jay. And it's going to give us a big boost moving forward. And the potential of landing an amazing partner in that, it was all worth it. So
I think a lot of people that watch it probably might not have really known who you are because it's on cable TV. Yeah. And a lot of younger generation that does follow Jay is more on social media and whatnot. I haven't had cable in 20 years.
Yeah.
But relatives of mine that are in their 60s message me, "Hey, I saw that guy on TV on Shark Tank that you always travel with."
Yeah.
They have no clue, but now they're exposed to this, and guess what? What percentage of American owns pets?
How many people have asked you about it? Have people stopped you? Or
tons. I've had so many people. I've had friends of mine tell me that they would be like in the baseball stands and somebody was talking about it. Different media outlets reaching out, different requests, messages. And again, like I said, my whole experience was positive, except for reading those things on people not understanding why. And I think in some cases, maybe it's a lack of understanding, marketing and business growth and opportunity. But, we came out winners here,
Whoever wrote those articles has never had to cut a check to get in front of 10 million potential customers.
And
it's not free.
Exactly. Talking to one of my friends that was on there years ago, and I was telling you guys earlier, like what kind of business they're doing a month, and they didn't get a deal either. They turned down a deal, but they told me that every time their episode goes on a rerun, they see a massive spike, and that's been going on for 5 years.
Yeah.
And, so in perpetuity, like we're in a good spot.
And I'm just thinking about how many people did reels or did YouTube videos and showed it and reposted it on their news network. Hey, Mr. Olympia was on Shark Tank. And so it spills way beyond just the cable TV and the reruns.
Yeah. My question is, do you eat the butter? I actually use it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I told him on the show that this was his secret. This is how he how he won all those Olympias.
He doesn't eat it.
I am on a peanut butter break right now.
Is there a reason for that?
Because I was eating a jar a day.
For how long?
6 years.
Oh my God.
Do you know how much cardio you have to do?
So give me a breakdown, Brandon, because you're a strategic guy. You're precise. You're a fitness guy.
Okay.
How
much fat, protein, calories are in a jar?
You're on the spot now. Put the camera right on you.
Depending on what on this jar? Or?
No. Just give me like a synopsis of what when you've eaten. Just give me a breakdown. Just how much fat is in a jar of peanut butter?
It all depends on what flavor I was eating. Okay. I had so many different flavors.
Basic.
I was just going by calories at that point.
How much?
I was eating probably 3,500 to 4,000 calories.
Just from peanut butter?
Just from peanut butter.
What else did you eat?
protein.
Yeah, but he's still shredded.
I did that forever. So
you're on a keto diet for the most part.
basically,
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you do keto?
no.
Okay, good.
No.
I was going to say if
So
you
that's
were
why you had to cut
keto,
back.
we can't be friends, you know. Yeah.
As I've gotten older, so I always ate 6 to 7 meals a day when I competed. I went pro in the physique division. I had to do photo shoots and video shoots all the time. I had to stay in shape for about 10 years. The majority of I always had peanut butter in my off season, and I'd always eat a ton of it at night with like oatmeal and stuff like that. That was my off season. I ate very little when I was competing or I had to be in shape. Yeah. After I essentially retired, I don't know if you really retire from being
you never do, yeah.
a physique pro, but that's when I really started just to eat a ton of peanut butter. So I was actually fasting for most of the day, and all of my protein and all that came at night. I ate very little carbs, mostly peanut butter, which obviously there's carbs in peanut butter, especially the different flavors that I had, but it was protein and peanut butter basically. And I think I was burnt out from the consistency of my diet for so many years. I ate the same stuff day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. And I'm back on that again. I'm eating more so how I used to. I'm eating less frequently. I'm probably eating 3 to 4 meals a day as opposed to 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. But my lifestyle's changed. I'm older. I'll be 45 this year, trying to catch Jay. And it just doesn't fit into that. The unfortunate thing is, like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, anything like that. So that's like my one vice is I love to eat peanut butter. And I know if I eat it, I don't stop eating it. I just sit there with the spoon and I just eat the jar.
That's why you need the packs.
Yes.
See? It's not about the dogs. It's about his consumption.
Yes.
Unless you have 20 packs.
Just sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have a big event coming up at your gym here. This will air by then, right? By March 15th, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to air it this week.
Okay, so talk a little bit about the gym culture event.
Yeah, gym culture event is going to be March 16th. 15th, we'll have some people in the 16th. It's our 1-year anniversary party. We have Michael Hearn coming to the event with Mona, and have a couple other special guests, but they're going to come in and celebrate with us. He wants to do a question and answer for all those that are going to come and show up for that. So it's going to be a good time. Being in Lubbock, way out there in West Texas, first we had you, Jay, and we saw.
I went for the grand opening.
Yeah, and the impact.
Was that a year ago or?
It was a year ago.
Wow.
And the impact that made, just how many people.
So fast, right?
Yeah.
You know what's going through my head right now? We can't even get Mike here to come on the podcast. And
I just told him about 6 times. He said, "I'm coming to Vegas."
He comes to Vegas and then nothing. I hope he watches this. I hope Dave does a reel for this one so we can call it Mike.
And so this is for the community. I mean, is it? You obviously grown membership there quite a bit since I've been there.
Yeah. The gym has gone awesome. We've done multiple events. We had you out. That was every event we have is for charity. So we had Jay out first. It was awesome to see because a lot of those people, just like me in South Dakota, like the first bodybuilder I ever saw was Jay. Mm-hmm. And I remember standing next to him, and I'm 6'1", and he's 5'9",
yeah,
right?
5'9".
And he was so big, I thought he was taller than me. Like, it was this weird optical illusion. Like, I literally thought he was taller than me because he was so big. But in South Dakota, I never saw anything like that. So it's the same in Lubbock. Like, a lot of these people have never seen a Jay Cutler. We had Phil Heath in after him, and now Michael Hearn. And so to be able to bring those people to the community and share them with them it's awesome.
How often do you plan to do these events?
I would say every 6 months. We've talked about we did that big backyard party last year. We would like to do something a lot bigger, get a lot of major brands there, and really try to make it more of a fitness destination for people in the future.
How long are your days, bro?
My days?
Yeah.
I'm at the gym a lot and I'm training a lot right now. I have personal trained up to 55 hours of actual training in a week. I've done 12 straight hours in a row, no breaks. Then obviously running the gym. My son, he goes to school early, baseball practice, all that stuff. I work on the weekends. I'm in the gym over 75 hours a week for sure. And then the remaining time is with Flavia, my fiance, and my son, Easton.
If you're running low on energy, you could have some Jay's Pet Butter.
I could.
See?
So what are you eating now, though, to keep up with the pace?
A lot of protein. I eat a lot more carbs. I'm very simplistic in food. I don't eat a variety of stuff. I don't like sauces and complicated things. I like potatoes, sweet potatoes, white potatoes. I love oatmeal, chicken. I eat a lot of beef, steak, hamburger. Don't eat a ton of fish, salmon every once in a while. Pretty
like you.
simple.
Is it hard to step away from the fitness model of lifestyle? Have you when you adapt to, you say you're retired and you obviously get busy, you have a child, you guys are here in Vegas, and I know Flavia was saying that you guys are trying out all these restaurants. Oh, she is.
Yeah, she is.
But like, you come to these. So is it stuck with you? Because I always wonder, because people are surprised that I'm still in the routine that I'm in. Like, do you think it's going to be for your life that you'll continue to eat? Like, do you, like, even talking about calories and carbs and proteins and stuff like that, even like in your mind when you go out to eat, it's like whether you eat chicken, steak, or fish or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're always thinking, okay, this is a portion, right?
Yeah. I don't measure anything. If I were trying to get in really good shape, I would keep more account. But even when I competed, I would measure oatmeal and stuff like that and my protein. I never did macros. I never counted calories. I never did anything like that. I just ate the same stuff day in and day out, and I would reduce food over time, and I would add cardio. That's how I became my best. Now I'm just consistent. I don't crave sugar and sweets and cakes and pies, and I just don't crave that. Like, I like my routine. Flavia will tell you, like, we went out to dinner with friends the other night, and they ate, like, this Bananas Foster's or something. And I went home and ate oatmeal. Like, that was literally what
just
I
like
wanted.
you.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make sense. You went out to eat and then you go home to eat.
But that was like, it's kind of,
I'm saying, like, do you ever think in your head, and this is a great question, like, I only ate 2 meals today, I ate 3 meals today, or like, is there a certain number of meals portions you try to eat in a day?
yeah.
Like,
yeah,
what's that number?
Usually 4.
Okay.
So I'm eating.
Same as
I'm
me.
eating-
Same as
yeah,
me.
so I'm eating that. But what I'm saying for me, like, I have such a routine. My life is so routine because it's so busy. I don't like falling out of my routine. Even when I travel, like, I don't like being gone from my routine. My routine follows me usually wherever I go. So I can look at food and know what I'm getting out of it. I don't need to measure it. I don't need to do any of those things. So I know what I'm eating. And if I fall one way or another, if I'm eating too much or too little, it all balances out because I'm so consistent all the time. So, like, when I say I eat oats at the end of the night, that's what I do every day. Like, right now, I eat like 2.5 cups of oats at night. I like carbs at night. That's my thing. And I put a banana in it, and I usually take some of your protein powder, Jay. Got to say that. And
You get it for free,
well,
So you laugh.
but I do that. I put your protein in there, and that's the last thing I eat every day. And so when I went out to eat, I got a steak and a potato and vegetables, and I had a salad and all that. And that's just my routine, and being, like I said, I'll be 45 this year. Consistency is a reason why I'm holding together, why I'm able to perform, why I'm able to lift, why I'm able to still look the way that I do, is because I'm so consistent all the time.
I have a serious question now. If you went to Cheesecake Factory, what would you order?
I would order sweet potato fries and
Does she know that she's laughing over there? She knows the order. Do you want to say it for him, or?
well, we went out to eat last night at the Venetian, and I got a chicken salad because they didn't have the ahi tuna that I wanted. And then I got sweet potato fries. That's what I got.
He just gets chicken and rice.
I know.
Yeah.
But I usually do that too. Yeah. I usually get something simple when I go out. But that's what I know, but that's the other part of it. It's what I like. That's the thing. I like that. I don't get sick of food, and I have food that I enjoy. I could eat chicken 1,000,000 times. I could eat steak 1,000,000 times.
Yep.
And I don't get sick of it. And I'm not, like, I don't over season stuff. I don't use sauces. Like, that's just me, and I'm comfortable in that.
Is this the most common question people ask you in the gym, like what to eat? Do you think the knowledge is less training or less food intake?
That's the hardest question, because people want to look a certain way, but sometimes they don't want to do the hard stuff. I've got a guy that I train right now. He's 58 years old, and I do a pretty crazy macro split with him where he has 5 days of consistency, and he actually has 2 refeed days every weekend. And we started in September, and his 5 days plus each refeed day, he's up over 1,000 calories in each category, and he's got more muscle and less body fat than he did when he started. So he's eating
eats whatever he wants on the weekend, or
on the weekend. So he still,
or is it like refeed and carbs?
he tracks
and good
it.
stuff. Okay.
He tracks it all.
Okay.
But he's eating like Lucky Charms and stuff like that. He's eating processed foods, but he continues to get leaner and he continues to gain more muscle. And the thing, with anything, and he says it all the time, he's very type A personality. It's, if people could only get the nutrition part down, it would make a lot of this much easier.
Chris Aceto was always like that calories in, calories out kind of thing.
Yeah.
He just didn't like the fat, like adding extra fat. He always thought if you ate carbs and protein on whatever sources they came from, he believed that the body can be managed in that sense. I think it's just that people, they just snowball the bad things on top, and the lack of exercise, and then, not having their hormones corrected. It can be a nightmare for them, right? Don't you agree?
Hormones are huge. Everybody I train, that's the first thing. Yeah. They have to have their hormones ran, because otherwise you're treading water. Like if we're working our butt off, we're eating right and everything else, we're going to get frustrated and quit. Whether it's a thyroid issue, whether estrogen, testosterone, any of those things. So that's mandatory for anybody I work with. You have to have your hormones ran.
Mm-hmm. What else? Any other
Jay's
questions
Pet
on
Butter.
that? Anything else you want to promote?
Anything else I want to promote?
Good.
Jay's Pet
Married
Butter.com.
June 22nd.
Oh, congratulations to you guys.
So
Where are you going on your honeymoon?
we're working on that. So we had picked a few destinations, but there's war going on in those parts of the world, so we're probably going to bypass that. Mm-hmm. We'd like to take 2 different trips, so we'll pick some destinations here soon because it's coming up pretty quick.
You have to say it on record though. You're going to have at least one piece of cake or something.
Oh yeah, we're actually in the midst of picking our cake flavors.
She gets to decide what you guys eat on your honeymoon.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm actually gonna go into a mini cut for the wedding.
Why, you're going to be in shirtless for the wedding, or what? I know after, but
yes. After. I think it. I want to bring my best. She's the best thing to ever happen to me, and I want to be the best I can be for her that day. I want to be comfortable up there. I want to feel good in my clothes and out of my clothes. And, it's something that I want to do for myself and something to motivate me again. I want to feel my best that day. And everybody knows how they feel when they're lean or if they have abs or,
of course, a Fit for 50. I just did. I wanted to be leanest.
I haven't seen my abs in
like
10 years.
I know. Well, we are a lifestyle guy. He's got the pattern down. So, that's big goals and big year, and we appreciate you coming out and joining the podcast and promoting what you have going on. I think it's a cool transition. Does it excite you as much as when you got into fitness and you were traveling around? What is it? You plan on expansion for your whole facilities and everything else down in Lubbock.
Does this excite me as much?
Yeah,
as much as it did in the past. Or
yeah, like the fitness. Fitness, I know when we all get into it, we're all super motivated, right? Yeah. Is it now like the business side of what you're doing and being able to give back to people because of the knowledge that you learned? Is that exciting to you?
Yeah, I think it's almost more exciting. It's kind of like when you transition, per se, let's say from competing to coaching, right? And you're more excited about a client up on stage than you were ever yourself. Taking the knowledge that I've learned over years and years and years of being able to sit with people like you and others and work with companies and take all that knowledge and credibility and pass that on to other people. I love that. I love the process of building things and taking an idea and taking it to market or, facilitating change in a person or a company or any of those things. I love the process of things. And now feeling like I actually know something about a few things, it's fun to share that knowledge with other people, but it's equally is great to continue to learn. You know, I tell people all the time, I'm a student every day. I train a lot of amazing people.
You talk about that a lot, yeah.
Yeah, doctors and lawyers and surgeons, and you know, being able to sit with you on numerous occasions and have you tell stories of when you first started coming up, or you know, how you did this or how you did that, or what it was like for this contest, or what your diet was like. Like, I love those things, and so I'm still just as much of a student as I am a educator. And I really like that process.
It's great, man. We appreciate you coming out, man. I hope you enjoy the rest of the trip, and you know, we'll see you when I come back out to Lubbock, right?
Well,
I'll be back there soon,
there.
yeah.
And I appreciate you, Jay. You know, you've been a motivation and inspiration to millions and millions and millions of people around the world, and it's great to see that continue to grow. And social media today, you know, give you that outlet to reach people, you know, all over the world. And I tell people that you did it when it was hard, you know, when we didn't have social media, when we had magazines, and I was, you know, a 14-year-old kid in the library in high school, you know, trying to better myself. And now I pop on my Facebook or Instagram, and there's always a video, Jay, that pops up, whether it be new content or old. You know, I still continue to have the opportunity to learn from you. So for that, I'm appreciative also.
That's awesome. I mean, that's how you met me too, right?
Yeah. I met Jay at a show 25 years ago.
How was I, 22,
23, yeah. 99.
Pretty crazy how it all comes in full circle. So I appreciate it so much.
Well, I went from 14 years old in a high school library to sitting here on a podcast with you as a business partner, hopefully, you know, pulling my weight to help you take this product to the best that it can be. So,
or we're going to the moon, so.
Yes.
To the moon. Are you going to put a bunch of social media posts now with the rocket like all the other people do? All right. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks.